This tutorial is about doing something a little bit different and the principle of clustering items to make them look balanced and cohesive. So what I've done with this is take a few items that I really like in my styling collection. I started with the spoons and I kind of built a narrative around that. One thing that's really important to do is to keep in mind that your flat lay should make sense to the viewer. So for instance, I wouldn't just throw ribbon or stationery into this because it doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't have a story or a reason why I'm doing it. So I tried to keep things themed in this flat lay and basically convey a message that, you know, I might be having some friends over to dinner and I'm gonna cook something that includes some of these ingredients. It's very autumny, and I have some fresh herbs from my garden, and I've got colors that all sort of coordinate. But overall, if you look at it, you're not seeing items that are just sort of totally nonsensical to your eye. So I started with the spoons. These are all pewter spoons that I got together, and I wanted to build something around these. So I added the plates in a curved line here, sort of as the focal point, and I'd like your eye to run along that line, but then I also have that line repeated here on the edge as a frame, and I also have that line here on a much lesser noticeable scale. I have the tray at the top to be just out of the edge of the frame, so when I take the photo, it's going to be just a little bit of that edge to add a little bit of texture and color. And you'll see the photo at the end of this video. So I've got my pears here in 3. I actually had them in a set of 2. As you can see, that throws off just a little bit of balance. You know, it could work, but adding a third one in here as a cluster just makes a lot more sense to the eye because we're naturally drawn to quantities of 3. I have 2 persimmons here to balance out the color because when I originally made this, I did not have the persimmons there and I felt that it was very heavy on this side. Your eye is drawn to the darker part of the photo, so this is drawing your eye here first, and I really want your eye to travel throughout the whole thing. So adding these allows your eye to run to both sides, and it kind of makes a nice loop around, and then you've got this curve through the middle. I have these little wooden trays here positioned at alternating angles because if you straighten them out, it kind of becomes too static. Just a little bit of a blocky chunk here where it's like your eye is stuck on this line and isn't going to travel through. So I turned this to come out a little bit and then brought this over to make that curve that we're seeing in the rest of the flat lay through here. And then I've added some elements like salt, which would be very common in any meal, and it adds a pretty little layer and a little bit of a bright spot here where we have white around here. And then I just grabbed a couple of glasses that I really like and I think match the theme of the gold and brown colors here. And for the spoons, I've purposefully laid them out not straight, so I could do this, but that kind of, again, stops your eye from traveling through and it becomes very blocky and kind of stops up the whole thing. So I like to have these also off center so that it creates the flow throughout the whole thing. So the 3 things to keep in mind about this particular flat lay is clustering your numbers of items, also layers of textures, and creating lines that will bring the eye through the flat lay in a very pleasing manner. So we've got a cluster of 3 pears here. I have obviously cluster of nuts here. There's 3 different elements here. I have 2 here, which is obviously not a 3, but it works because it's framed by this small bowl. And then the layers of textures, we have this cheesecloth, the herbs, and the pears, which are 3 different textures, but really blend well together. You also have 3 different textures here, actually 4 if you count the wood. And the lines that is bringing your eye through this is this curvature of plates, mimicked over here by the frame, and again by this frame. And this element up here is just added to bring this whole thing together and cap it off with another little texture that's not going to be terribly noticeable, but very nice when you look at the overall image.
I hope this video helps you bring your flat lace to the next level. Make sure to visit stylingmat.com to find the only portable, foldable, washable styling surface, along with lots of unique and beautiful styling props.
It's as simple as that.